first year that we moved to this area, I couldn't believe the wildflowers when I would take this back road way, and it was just amazing, just the beautiful, beautiful flowers, and just every color. And we're in Texas, so we've got all the Texas wildflowers, which are so beautiful, and they just popped up just this week. Just every little color, the purple, the orange, the pink, the yellow, the blue, just all these beautiful colors, white. All the lilies are coming up because it's almost Easter, and it's just a beautiful time, and man, it's just so beautiful. I live in the country, and so we have wildflowers that grow up on our property, and I love when I go for walks and I can just walk past all the flowers and just see them. But it just was reminding me of His faithfulness, because the first year that I had the wildflowers pop up was like one of the most amazing seasons of love I've ever had with Jesus. These back road drives were so intimate and just so just powerful, like when I first believed, like just, and even more, like I can't explain it. And He would always, and I was going through stuff at the time, but my times with Him when I'd get away in the secret place with Him were just so awesome, and He would use wildflowers on our drive, and birds. He'd always send those little red cardinals, and I had lost my mom just a year or so before that, and that was around the time that He was really healing my heart from the really deep pain. And I know some people say you'll never get over it, and yes, you'll never not on this earth miss the person that you lost. But it's amazing how God can actually heal the pain that you're feeling of that loved one. And I know this is true because He's done it for me with 3 people in my life that I've lost. And one is my sister, and now I can think about her, talk about her, and not bawl my eyes out. And of course, that's been since 1998, so that's been a really long time. But I have my daughter's dad, took his life, and that one was a very deep one for me, because I believe the enemy's lie that he took his life so he was going to go to hell. And I don't believe that, because I do know that he had given his life over to the Lord not long before that. And the pastor that did his service said that he was the one that he went to when he was reaching out. And so anyways, that was comforting later on when God revealed that to me, that about how you could have that blessed assurance, that never doubt that you've lost your salvation, because you can't. Once you're saved, that's it. And I know you'll hear people say, no, don't believe that once saved, always saved. Well, you know what? That's what I stand on. I stand on, my faith is on Jesus, and it's on what He did for me on the cross. And He was buried, and He rose again on the 3rd day. And like my little girl said today, we were talking, and somehow that got brought up, and she said, and she's only 4 years old, and she says, Mommy, Jesus didn't raise from the cross. She said he rose from the cave. Because she has this little cartoon that she watched when she was like 2, and she remembers seeing that. anyways, that's what my faith stands on, is on what he did for me. Because if I were to stand on what I do, or what I could possibly do before, my time is done, then I don't stand a chance, because the chasm is far too wide. If it was that simple for us to just, be good enough, then Jesus wouldn't have had to come and die for us. And he came because he was the only way. And remember, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, if you can take this cup from me, if there was any other way, but there was no other way. The Father told him there was no other way. And so he did it because he knew it was the only way, and that's how much he loves us. And so, if you've ever dealt with any kind of suffering at all, you may really, reflect strongly on that time when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, because you can only imagine probably a whole lot more when you're suffering what he was experiencing in that moment. Obviously we couldn't experience what he was experiencing, but it feels closer, and it feels like he's so near in that moment, or from that moment when you are suffering. And so I just wanted to kind of share that. But what I was saying about his faithfulness, these flowers remind me of that. His faithfulness, he's faithful to keep his word. He's faithful to keep our salvation secure. And he's not going to lose any of us. There's no lost and found for us. I mean, there is, we get lost, but once we're found by him, that's it. No more lost and found. Because we are lost until we're found, But anyways, just the faithfulness of God. I was going through stuff at that time, but I'd go meet with him on this drive in a secret place, and man, when he just, encouraged my heart and just lift me up, out of that dark cloud in the moment, and just fill me with peace and his love, and encourage me and comfort me and strengthen me, and just have joy, crazy joy, just amazing joy, and joy that comes from deep within that you cannot make up. You cannot fabricate that kind of, the enemy always is trying to, make a false, copy or whatever of what God does. And you got AI, and AI tries to, make designs, that's trying to take over artists and stuff, which, I've been doing art for a while, and I've noticed that that's something that the enemy's using to try to drown out the art world, because the art world is really on fire right now with God, and he's not wanting people to use that, and there's just so much out there so that it's hard to see that, but God's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to get it out. But AI can come up with something with art, but it won't compare to something that God is divinely creating through you, to touch people's hearts, to touch your heart, to touch other people's hearts. And I'm learning that a lot through my paintings, and I'm going to be sharing them soon. I want to start sharing my paintings and sharing the stories behind them. They're really cool. They're definitely God, 100%. And that's around the time, when I was driving these wildflowers, and that's when I started painting too. And I was going through a lot of stuff, but just driving here again, just wanted to say, getting closer to my destination I was headed to, and such a perfect example of, there's some more really beautiful pink ones that just popped up around these trees. I just love it. But they're just a reminder that he's faithful, because if you're in a season that's really hard, know that that season is not going to last forever. I think he gave us the season so we would know that. I know there's many other reasons why, but that's one of the reasons. It's got to be because it shows us that it's just a season. Spring is coming. The flowers are starting to bud and bloom, and the sun is coming out, and the beautiful weather, and then it's, you think about it spiritually, and it gives you a lot of hope that whatever winter season you just have gone through, that those seeds that were germinating, they're now growing. And I just heard this on the radio, is you don't grow in the comfort, but you grow in the trust. And so the things that are growing now are growing from that time in the winter when you trusted him. And those seeds went in the ground and they died, and now they're coming to life and blooming and bringing hope and joy. And I guess that's all I really had. And so I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy this beautiful weather if you have it yet. If you don't, it's coming soon. So we're here in the south, and